thing here. So Yitzhak is Vice President of Product Management and Business Dev at Verint, Cybersecurity Solutions. Over the past 15 years, Yitzhak has applied his vast knowledge of national networks, big data monitoring and intelligence gathering to a wide range of senior Verint business and technology roles. For 11 years prior to joining Verint, he was engaged by the Israel Army Intelligence Corps in a variety of engineering and command positions, taking a leadership role in the implementation of large interdisciplinary state-of-the-art projects. And Yitzhak will speak about uncovering the secret signs of lateral movement. Please.
Okay, thank you, Niv, and hello, everyone. I did something. Okay, now it's okay. So, I guess I listened to some of the HackTalks before, and especially I very much like the kernel cat, because it was a very good introduction to lateral movement. Now, the reason I'm speaking about lateral movement today, of course, all of you know a lot about lateral movement, but if you look at the market, there aren't so many solutions that tries to detect lateral movement. Although, if you look actually what lateral movement is doing, is something which is not really, it doesn't make sense in a network. Okay, so if I go and now try to access my friend's computer next to me, or try to access directly the data center, or try to access another resource in the network, this is of course something that doesn't make sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense in the regular way that a network operates. So despite this case, there aren't so many solutions. So let's go a bit into it and try to see what's going on. And the first example, it's an operation revealed by Kaspersky, but previously revealed by Fox IT from Netherlands. It's called Carbanak. That's the name of the malware. The guys in Fox IT gave it another name, Anuank. Eventually, they claim that almost $1 billion of money was stolen from banks. So we had some discussion in the corridors before about stealing money from banks. And it was mainly a group that was both from Russia and Ukraine. Most of the work they did in Eastern Europe, but also some work they did outside of Eastern Europe. They started by sending some spear phishing emails to everyone they could, and then from there they tried to move laterally within the network, trying to get to some interesting resources, trying to obtain admin credentials, and what's very interesting at the end, they managed to get into the data center, into the Oracle databases, at least in some of the cases, managed to create new accounts, managed to get into existing accounts and increase the cash balances within these existing accounts, and then do wire transfer of the money to other accounts, sometimes in other banks. They managed to activate the ATM machines to flash out money so they could collect the money. So practically, it's really an amazing thing. Now, if you look into more detail into what happened within that attack and what tools they brought in after after they compromised the first machines, you can see an attack toolbox. Okay, so everything that maybe a system administrator will include, but some additional tools like AMI Admin 3.5. It's a remote admin tool every administrator is using. Now, a Telnet SSH client, PSX, this is a bit different. Now, to be able to launch remote execution at another machine, to get access remotely to another machine via multiple ways, we'll see it later. And then also Mimikatz, before people talked about the kernel cat. So Mimikatz is the predecessor of that, which allows you to harvest credentials from memory, harvest hashes that you can then do pass the hash or pass the key attacks to be able to go to another machine. Now, try to look into, like, take 50 different attacks that are covered in the internet, you would see that it doesn't matter really where the attackers are coming from. All of them got similar tools. So I looked into an Iranian attack that Silence revealed on a Saudi Arabia assets, similar tools that they have over there. I looked into many other attacks. They all have the same toolkits. I looked into what pen testers are doing. They also got the same toolkits. Okay, so it's unlike the exploitation and infiltration phase and the amount of investment people do in order to stay on the machine and so on. For the lateral movement, many times they use really standard tools, okay, where they try to move from one place to the other. So, and again, not so many detection tools are available for lateral movement, and this is really surprising. It means also that, you know, we thought that the attacks are mainly automated, but no, it's not. The first phase is automated. The next phases is really, there is a man behind the machine, he's moving around the network, he's trying to get into something which is much more interesting and powerful in order to either steal information, steal money, create damage. So this is the path. So really covering lateral movement has a lot of potential. Now, again, so what is the process? So the assumption is first that you have any kind of a compromised machine either within the network or outside the network with access to the network. And then you use that in order, first of all, to try to escalate your privilege, get into admin rights or domain admin rights, whatever is better. Of course, domain admin rights is better. And then, and you can do that either, maybe they made a mistake, just it was very easy. You can do it just by getting the admin rights of the machine. Or maybe you can use a 0-day to make it happen. And then the next stage, you try to move laterally from one computer to the others until hopefully, if you want to get to a golden ticket, maybe you get some Kerberos tickets in the domain admin. And then practically you can do things not just in the specific domain that you are now, maybe also in other domains that are within this network. So you can even jump between domains. Okay, so, and this is all lateral movement. This is what we are looking for, and the challenge that the attackers has, as well as the defenders, to try to detect the lateral movement. Now, basically, it's like, you know, crossing a river, and you know, when you cross a river, you need to find maybe the narrowest place. You need to find, even if you find that place, you need to make sure that the water are not running too fast and that the stones you are stepping on, and that's what the attackers are doing, that you're not going to fall down. Now, they will try, for example, to do some port scanning or IP scanning. They will try to do ARP spoofing. They will try to reroute the traffic via that machine that they have over there. They will try to serve as a man in the middle to other traffic within the network. They will try to find some network share in order to use that, assuming they can get the credentials like discussed before and jump to another machine. They will try to use any kind of remote protocols to drive to the next machine, in their way to get a full hold of the network. So these are the different things that they are doing, and the challenge for the defenders is to try and detect these different methods. Now, so let's see what are the options for the defenders. The defenders could be either in the endpoints along the network. They could be in the network, you know, passively monitoring the traffic within the network, or they can even fake an endpoint using like a honeypot method, and then try to get the attacker to jump into that honeypot and catch him over there. So all of these techniques are available. Now, when you are at the endpoint in trying to detect, you try to detect, collect forensics for the different activities that I described before. You can do it either by just looking into the operating system log. This is one option. Some of the logs are really comprehensive. You can get a lot of information, or you can implement an agent on the endpoint, either run it on a device driver level or on application layer or both, in order to try to detect all these different events that were described before. So one way is to try to do it at the endpoint. The second way is, and again, could be also, combined methods where you take both the endpoints and the network. But in this case, the network, the second way, is by passively monitoring. Now, to be able to detect lateral movement, you cannot just be installed at the gateway of the network, because you are not going to see almost any lateral movement going on. You need to go into the internal network segments between the different machines, at the place where are the switches of the network, and over there to be able to do the passive monitoring. Now, this is not so easy. People that manage networks, they will tell you, don't go there. We don't want you to do that. However, if you do go there, you can see everything, okay? You are really in a place that the attacker will not know you are there, but you can see all their lateral movement activities, okay? The next point is by improvising a fake endpoint, which means now this fake endpoint could be also on a virtual machine in a centralized place in the network, connected by kind of a VLAN to that centralized place. And then you need to improvise and look like a regular machine. You need to maybe to leave some honey tokens at that machine that was compromised to try to persuade the attackers to move to that other machine. But again, if the attacker actually thought you are a real machine and he's now trying to run his way, you can also catch the actual weapon itself, okay? Because one of the things they may do is now compromise that honeypot in order to go to another place later on in the network. So this is another way of doing it. So basically we have three different ways of doing lateral movement. Now, just a bit to look maybe into the endpoint perspective. So what are the things you're going to look at the endpoint in order to know whether there is some lateral movement going on? Okay, so for example, you can go and look for these specific tools. We talked about this toolbox that is over there. You can go and look for these specific tools in different files over the disk. You can look for actions of granting privileges, of privilege escalation. You can look at all the processes that are created within that machine and look for malicious processes. You can look into all these remote accesses from that specific machine to machines that were supposed, that were not supposed to be accessed. Okay, so all these things you can look from an agent at an endpoint. Okay, so this is just an example of the things that you need to monitor at the endpoint in order to go into the next phase. Now, what I try to do over here is to try to do some comparison between the different methods and give you the advantages and disadvantages of the different things. First of all, on the endpoint. Usually it's very cost effective. You can deploy it from a centralized location. It runs on the endpoint. You don't need an additional machine or an additional appliance to deploy at the network. You can really gain high visibility because you see everything that is done inside. If you sit at the network, you don't see, for example, the harvesting for the credentials. You don't see other activities, but if you are over there where things are happening, you can see many things. However, this is really intrusive. Not everyone likes you to put something on their computers. Maybe the attackers can detect you because you are running on the same machine as they do. And as well as if you develop something for Windows, maybe the lateral movement is maybe for my iPhone to directly to another Linux machine within the network. So you need to develop it for all the different devices as well as all the different operating systems that you have in your network. So these are the disadvantages of the endpoint approach. Now, there is not a single winning method here. It's just a matter of advantages and disadvantages. The next method is the network-based approach. In this case, you have full transparency. No one knows that you are there unless you tell them you are there, because you got a sniffer over there. You know, it's fully promiscuous mode. There is clear as isolation between what you are doing and what the attackers are doing. The lateral movement protocols themselves over the network are the same. Doesn't matter really what type of device you have over there, almost doesn't matter, or what type of operating system that you have. So you can still see the same activities, so you don't need now to implement it in multiple ways to different operating systems. The issue is more on the cost. Now you need to deploy something in each and different segment of the network, okay? You need now to go to all of these segments. It could be in another floor, in every building. There is a different segment, okay, of that organization. So it's more complex to implement. Now you need to push some lines back into whatever system you're using in order to provide a solution. And last, some of the protocols are encrypted. So they will be very hard to decode and then enable monitoring of the network. The next approach is the deception approach. This is the honeypot method that I described before. Unlike the other means, it's more of like a proactive method. You try to persuade the attackers to do something. So this is an approach. If you talk to different people in the industry, it's all the deception area is an emerging area. There is a lot of push by some of the customers, not all of them, is to try to do something more proactive, try to somehow get the life more difficult for the attackers. The cost is a medium cost. You need to apply a device in the network. You can do it at an external location. Still, you need to get access or manage all these switches in all the different places within your network. The disadvantage is that it's highly intrusive. You're doing something in the network that wasn't supposed to be there. People don't like it, customers especially. You know, you're changing their network. You're adding things. They are not sure that whatever you are adding is not going to somehow influence the business, which is the main reason why they are running, not the security. Okay? You are partially visible, and it depends how good you actually implement the honeypot. You know, sometimes you take some of the protocols and have your own implementations. Sophisticated attackers will be able to detect that it's a different version. It doesn't make sense. It's not the same SMB. Someone changed that SMB. Okay, and then there is some complexity in deploying, and could be also detectable, like I described before. Some sophisticated hackers, they will know that they are jumping into a honeypot. So these are the pros and cons of all the different methods. Now, what we do in Verint, we don't do just lateral movement. We have like an holistic solution that is both network and endpoint, that is doing both detection and forensics in both ways, as well as we combine all this information into a complete incident response system that allows you to move in time. Okay, so you can look back and see what happened in the network, as well as you can tell some of the detection engines to try to detect for that specific incident that is running on. It allows you to see information through a complete network, not just a specific location, and it allows you also to automate the steps of the investigation. Okay, so this is the suite. It's a special product that we just launched recently to the enterprise environment, and if you want more information, I can tell you more about it later on. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.